Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacy.
All right, good. The timing is good. We've been doing this now for a number of years, and I think you've got the timing down.
All right, good deal.
Good,
Let's
yeah.
jump into it.
So you don't want to waste any time here dilly-dallying around?
No.
All right. Should we tell people who we are? Or
no,
cares?
people know.
People know who we are.
They subscribe to our podcast. They know who we are.
All right. So if this is your first time, you'll just have to guess. All right. So Steve and I do this podcast, and today we're going to talk about 10 ways that pastors, or really anybody for that matter, can relax in front of the camera.
Yeah, this is something I know nothing about with regard to the pastor part, but I can really relate to the in front of the camera part.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. And for those who don't know, we do streaming video. That's what our company does. And we work with a lot of pastors and a lot of churches that do streaming video. So this is kind of this is an area, I mean, we do more of the technical stuff, but this is some stuff here that I think can help people. Because I have a friend of mine that's a pastor, and he's really a good speaker. But boy, you stick a camera in front of him and he gets very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
which really surprised me.
I could see that. I'm speaking at my son's wedding.
Oh, that's right.
And the thought of multiple cameras being turned my way when I start to speak will just probably freak me out.
Well, this is your third one for you. This is your third son getting married, right?
Yes.
So you should have this down by now.
Yes. So, well, I read through our notes, and this is good refresher. So.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that. Well, I'll be there to cheer you on, of course.
Yeah. The people won't be a big problem, but the cameras will be.
Well, and here's something to keep in mind as we talk about this, because I'm sure that there's pastors or even key volunteers listening to this podcast that are going to say, well, don't you just kind of forget about the cameras when you're speaking and stuff? Well, and that's true to a certain degree, especially if the camera's back a ways. But also keep this in mind. And what I find most churches, well, a lot of churches aren't doing this, but they should be doing this. And that is, you can do little video clips during the week and put them out on social media, put them on your website. And I think that's where a lot of people get uncomfortable, because now, of course, as we've said before, you can take your camera. Where's my camera? You can take your phone and you can have a volunteer or another staff person do a little video of the senior pastor or somebody talking about, hey, here's what's coming up this week at our church. And again, this is a tip you can use, that some of the tips we're going to talk about today, you can use not just Sunday mornings, but anytime you're in front of a video camera of whatever it might be, a phone or some kind of mobile device. So, so anyhow, shall we just jump into it?
Yeah. Let me interrupt for just a second. There are squeaking noises going on.
Squeaking noises?
Yes. It's like you're sitting in a squeaky chair or something.
Oh, I've got my desk here is a little squeaky. You're talking about?
Yeah, that noise.
Yeah, I've got a squeaky desk here. I stand when I do things. I'll try not to touch the desk. How's that sound?
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to address it or not, because it's there.
I generally just ignore those kind of things.
Okay.
Not bring attention to it.
Yes. All
which
right.
is what we're doing now.
Yeah, you will be editing this out, right? Or
probably not. Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
I'll stick this in there just to annoy you. Yeah, I have a squeaky desk here. I mean, I could pull the camera around and show everybody, but there's no reason to do that. I actually have a desk, and I have a platform that I have on my desk that I had a few years ago, because I found that when I sit all day in front of a computer, it bothers my sciatica, my nerve, and my hip. And so standing really helps me. There's sometimes I can sit down, but standing really helps me with that issue. So that's why. And I went to IKEA a few months ago. You know that store IKEA where you have to put everything together, and they do have a desk that you can raise. It's like it's got hydraulic on it, and you can raise it, and it's kind of long. And I really thought seriously about getting it, but then I thought I don't want to spend $500 on a desk, so I didn't.
Yes, those are very popular.
Yeah, they are. And then there's one that you don't have to get you don't have to get the hydraulic one. You can get the one with the crank. That's cheaper.
Anyway, get a less noisy one when we're recording podcasts.
All right. I just want to lean on this thing. That's all.
Yes.
You want me to turn my water fountain back on? I shut it off. I can turn it back on here.
They will annoy everyone with our podcast. All right. The professional. Let's put our professional hats back on.
All right. Professional again.
All right. 10 ways pastors can relax in front of the camera.
Yes. Okay.
Number 1, practice.
Practice, which is what we probably should do for this podcast. Yeah. So look, everything is like anything else in life. Okay. It gets easier when you practice it more and more. And so when you just keep doing it, when you keep working at it, you can shoot some practice videos, you can do some things, but I've been involved in ministry for a long time, and I actually practice when I get up and speak, which is usually once a month, because I'm not the senior guy, and thank God I'm not, right? But I actually practice my messages a little bit before I get up and do that. And so I don't do it in front of people usually. I just do it in my office here, close the door and crank up the radio so my wife doesn't think I'm talking to myself. But when you practice more and more, it will get easier. And, again, maybe shoot some videos of yourself, take a look at that, see what you look like, see how you come across. But the bottom line is practice, and make some adjustments if you have to.
Yeah. I would think that the majority of pastors out there, this may not apply, that they don't get uptight in front of the camera. They've been doing this so long that they're like, whatever.
If you're new to it, it could be a problem.
Yeah, right. I could see if you're new to it, or some people may never get adjusted to it, especially with cameras moving into the church service more and more. I mean, before they're like,
And like I said earlier, I got a guy who's a great speaker, and yet he tends to not do well
when there's a camera. That's true. All right, so practice, number 1. Number 2, we're going to go through 10 of these, right? So,
we are, and a lot of them are basic. But hey, let's talk about.
Yeah, some of these early ones are basic. So the next one is prepare.
So everybody has a different way of doing this. Some people use a script. I find that it's better if you're in front of a camera to not really use a script so much when you're speaking, but to maybe use an outline and remember to look up and engage people. But I think, if you prepare, realize, okay, I'm going to be in front of a camera. I've got my notes. I know where I'm going. Here's the deal. When you get lost, when you're speaking and you get lost, when you're in front of people, it's not such a big deal. But when you're on video, people look at it in
front of people, you get lost in front of any time. You panic. It's like a shot of adrenaline, right? Or at least I do. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to say next, and I forgot where I was in my outline, and
it can be hard. I mean, there's another alternative to that too, and that is it's okay to pause a little bit and pause. Let people think a little bit about the first point.
Yes, make them think that you're cool, calm, and collected, and you're just pausing when inside you're going.
I don't have it here, but I have a coffee cup that I take up when I'm speaking. And sometimes if I feel like I'm getting lost, or if I just want to emphasize a point, I'll make a point, and then I'll just stop and take a cup of coffee and just look at everybody, and it seems awkward, but it's really not bad. In fact, I've been accused by coaches of going too fast. They've told me, hey, you got some good stuff here, but you need to slow down. You need to just take it easy.
So I've been preparing for this speech I need to make because our daughter-in-law asked me to speak at their wedding, at the wedding, not at the rehearsal thing. So I've done my practice, and I've prepared. I actually wrote out everything I wanted to say initially, and then I just condensed that to. So if I am all teary-eyed and can't go on or so shook up, I'll resort to my line by line. But my goal is to just have an outline, and then my goal is to not refer to any of that, just so I can remember everything. So so yes, I've prepared mentally, and I've also practiced in person as well. So anyway, I don't do this very often. I don't do this every weekend. So
it's understandable, but it sounds like you got a good plan.
All right, so number 3 on our list is to breathe.
Breathe. So the truth is, as humans, we don't really breathe right. I mean, most of us are running around doing things, we're busy, and sometimes we don't really breathe like we should. I know this sounds really maybe different to some people listening to this podcast, but you should focus a little more on your breath at times, whatever you're doing. And especially if you're speaking and in front of a camera, just breathe. Just take some deep breaths. Don't be in a hurry. Just kind of relax. Breath really has been proven scientifically to help de-stress you. So if you will practice breathing, it will actually de-stress you.
Yeah. Or just think about it, or just focus on your breathing, right?
Yeah.
And say, I'm going to take some, because otherwise you get all panicked and you don't breathe, and all of a sudden you're out of breath, and you start speeding up, and
exactly. You run out of breath, you say things and get dizzy, lightheaded, and all that stuff. And it has happened to people.
Or they just like pass out. So they forgot to breathe. All right, number 4 on our list here is to acknowledge but don't play to the camera.
Yeah, I put this in because I feel like it's okay to make eye contact with the camera. Some people feel like you should never make eye contact. I think you should at times. Of course, that's going to bring in another point. If you have multiple cameras at your church, you need to know which camera is the one that's lit up, so to speak.
This week I was late night TV kind of thing. I said, pull out the Netflix. I started watching some Office that I have not watched in a very long time. And they're one of the guys that looks, every show, they look at the camera and make comments and nods and gestures toward the camera. They use it as part of their whole thing. So anyway,
that's part of their format.
That's part of their format now.
Yeah. But I think, you would just do what you normally do if you're up there speaking, looking, hopefully making eye contact with several people, during your presentation. But I don't think it's wrong to look at the camera. All I'm saying is don't try to, always be the guy looking at the camera the whole time and you're ignoring everybody else.
Right. Or you're playing to the camera and it's like you're speaking to the camera and everyone else is there just watching you being filmed or something.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5, know your boundaries.
Your boundaries.
So I can speak to this as a cameraman.
There you go. Well, why don't you go ahead and speak to it? Tell us a little bit about what that means.
So knowing your boundaries is basically, depending on the style of the pastor, you're going, some are going to sit in front of a lectern or the podium there and just be fixed and give their message. A lot of pastors like to walk around.
Right.
So they like to walk to and fro. So as, if you're one that walks around, you need to have some boundaries set up, because there's certain areas, and this is really true at our church. If you go too far, there's places where it's just going to look like a really strange camera shot, or you walked into a big dark pocket of the stage, so they can't see you. So, and I think our pastors are really well coached here to
remember that,
to know where not to go. Basically, stay in this box and you're going to be okay. And some pastors are really good at also, if you're being filmed, providing good cues to where you're going to go. So we've had pastors speak in the past where they're just boom, boom, they're just like shift left, shift right, and the camera guys, whoa, where'd it go? And they're having to keep up with them. But our senior pastor is really good, because that, okay, he's swayed to the left. We know he's going to go back to the right. Now you can just kind of read the body language and you know where he's going, and so you can anticipate all the moves. And it makes it doesn't, no one else notices other than the camera guy that, I know where this guy's going. He's not going to pull a fake left and go right on me. And so the camera's bouncing all over the place. But anyway, it's know your boundaries, know how far you can go. And also just be aware that there's a camera trying to follow you. So don't jump around.
Yeah. And, you can do some little simple things like masking tape.
Yeah.
You can put it on the stage. On the floor of the stage, and so that can help when you're walking, when you're going back and forth. That can help as far as, okay, there's the tape, I don't want to go past the tape. those kind of things.
And another thing with streaming, as we get into this thing, we do a deal which I think a lot of churches do, is they'll have a very big TV on stage, and so the teaching notes for the scriptures next to the pastor. So where the pastor stands as he references something on the screen is very important.
Right.
So you need to make sure that from a camera standpoint, the camera can capture you and whatever you're trying to point out. So it's just important, if you're referencing something, that you're actually standing somewhere near it on the stage if you're one of the wandering people.
Yep.
So.
Good point. Yep. Very good point. So know your boundaries. All right. So we talked about acknowledging the camera, but you don't have to play to the camera. We talked about breathing, talked about preparing, talked about obviously practicing at the beginning. And the sixth point is wear the right clothing.
Yes.
Why is that important? Why do I have to wear are you talking about a suit and tie? What are you talking about?
No, we have found that the camera is going to pick up clothing a lot different than they will in person. So if you've got like tiny little stripes, that the camera does weird things to that. Or actually, just this morning, I saw something that I'd never seen before. And it was a sports show, and there was a sports guy, and he had a t-shirt on, and you could tell that he was in front of a green screen. And the reason you could tell that he was in front of a green screen was he had a hole through the middle of his chest that went right to the background. So he had some colors
green
on his chroma key on his shirt. I had never seen that. It was the weirdest thing. He's walking back and forth, and you can see the background.
It's funny. As
though he had a 6-inch hole right through the middle of his chest.
Sounds like a Bruce Springsteen song. Yeah. Exactly. So so if you have a green screen, you want to make sure.
Yeah, we're not going to have a green screen with the pastors. They probably don't have to worry about that, but they do need to worry about the clothing, and whether we've had pastors that we'll kind of do our run through before the service, and we look down the camera and we're like, hey Jeff, you got to go change that shirt. That's not going to work. Yep. It's either just freaking the camera out or something. So
it just doesn't look good on video. And and I think that's always good. It's always if you're able to bring an extra set of clothing or an extra shirt, just in case, that might not be a bad idea. And you touched on something which I thought was good. And it's not really being being uncomfortable in front of the camera, but maybe it is. And that is, a little bit of testing every service, before the service starts. A little bit of testing with your video is always, of course, obviously audio, but video is always a good thing to do if you can do it.
Yeah, I think that'll avoid any, you don't want to get halfway through your message like we did today and say, I hear this squeaking noise.
What is the squeaking noise going on right now? There it is, squeaking a little bit. It's wood. That's why it squeaks.
All right. Number 7 on our list, get trusted feedback.
Trusted feedback. So I think it's important that you get, especially you get people look at the video later, and, if you've got a team of people, this might be a little challenging for some people because of ego, but I think, you need to open up and give people an opportunity to tell you what they think, how you came off, how you came across, how the message went online, or on video, I should say. And, take it in stride. It's a little awkward maybe, but maybe don't open up to everybody, but some people that and trust that would,
I know at our church we do a thing that this is not after getting feedback, but it's they do actual run through of the message. Yeah. Pastor gets up and does the message with the staff there on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And the staff the reason they're there is to give suggestions and pointers and say, don't say that, say this, or when you say that, go over to here and hold the prop like this, and that sort of thing.
I actually, again, it's kind of off topic here a little bit, but I think that's a good thing to do if you can do it. If you can schedule the time to do it, which, obviously your pastor Jeff has done, and because it's all about trying to effectively communicate. And that's the whole purpose even of what we're talking about today, is it's not about ego. It's not about like, well, how can I look my very best on camera? It's about communicating the message. And if you're awkward on camera, that can hinder how you're coming across, that can hinder the message to some degree. And so you want to try to work on some of these things we're talking about, not so that you look great and everybody can brag about how good you are, but really how you can effectively communicate what you're trying to do, what you're trying to say.
All right, we got 3 more here. We're going to make it to the finish line here.
I think we are. Yeah, we've got a couple minutes here. Yeah.
All right. Get a good microphone is number 8.
Yeah, this is a little different from the camera thing, but again, I always say this, audio is very important in streaming video. In fact, in some ways, it's almost more important in streaming video because people can deal with you if you've got good audio, but if you've got good audio, people will hang around. If your audio is not good and your video might be crystal clear, but people can't hear you, or it's a struggle to hear you, or you get feedback, or somebody's desk is squeaking while they're doing a podcast, it can be frustrating. And the other thing to do with this is not just the audio itself, but sometimes when you're forced to hold a microphone, it can hinder, again, your presentation. Right. So if you're able to get some kind of like an ear set, I guess it's an ear set, a headset that you can wear, they're not cheap. They're about $1,000 for a good one. But if you can get one that's nice and looks nice and fits you well, and they make these that can be the same color of your skin tone, it just frees you up. It frees you up to focus on other things.
All right. Number 9. It's not about you.
It's not about you. So kind of goes back to what I mentioned just a minute or two ago. What we're talking about here is again, how you can effectively communicate your message. And so it's really not about how good you look or how graceful you are in front of the camera, but it's eliminating any kind of barriers or any kind of obstacles that might, that the person you're trying to communicate with online, or at least through the video, they're going to be able to receive what you're doing and not be distracted by your awkwardness or whatever it is you're fumbling around trying to do. So it's really not about you. It's about what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah. And you kind of captured it well in the notes. I kind of related to it. They really don't care about you. They care about what you have to say, but they really don't care about you, you. And I thought about that. And that's very true. I mean, they just want to receive a message, and they don't care a whole lot about the messenger. So
yeah, I think that's true for the most part. Yeah. And again, if you're stumbling around and you're just awkward because of the camera, and then you want to fix that. But the bottom line is it's
it may detract from the message, but the message is the thing people come for.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, number 10 on our list.
Kind of goes against a little bit of what I said, but be yourself with all your flaws. So, nobody's looking for perfection here. All we're trying to do with this podcast here is we talk about being comfortable in front of a camera is to help you communicate better, but the truth is nobody's perfect in front of a camera. Nobody's perfect in real life. So we're all human, and you're not going to knock it out of the baseball stadium every time. You're not going to hit a home run every time you speak, but you want to be authentic. Right. You want to be real. You want to be sincere. And if you can come off like that, that's going to help.
And understanding this point will help you relax and be more of yourself as well. Yeah. If you just say, oh, I've got flaws and I recognize them, and I'm not going to try to hide them or polish them or, sweep them under the rug here. I'm just going to go be me, and then it helps calm you down as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So, these things that we talked about, the preparation part, all these things that we just talked about, do your best, but hey, nobody's perfect. Just do your best to do as good of a job as you can to help. people receive a message, and your flaws are who you are, and that's kind of what makes the message as well. I mean, it's you communicating and even giving examples of your flaws, maybe, through your messages. So, so be yourself. That's the bottom line. Don't try to be Joel Osteen. Don't try to be, what's the guy's name? What's the famous African-American pastor?
T.D. Jakes.
T.D. Jakes, great speaker, but you can't be somebody else, right? So you have to be who you are. So anyhow, hopefully this helps.
All right. We made it.
We made it with time to kill. So look, if you would like to give us some feedback, you being our listeners, we do appreciate you very much. Love to get your feedback. You can send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv. That's one of our domains. That's one of our companies, streamingchurch.tv, which is kind of why we're talking about cameras today. We do streaming video, we do mobile apps, we do church websites and content stuff. So we'd be happy to help you. We would just love your feedback and appreciate it very much. And so always feel free to share with us what you think, even if it's not even in total agreement, right?
Exactly.
All right, good. All right, well, Darren, we are done. So we will wrap things up. And Steve, thank you very much for your input today.
Great to be here.
And again, folks, thank you for listening or watching this podcast. We're on video, we're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, we're all over the place. So thank you for the privilege of your time. And until next time, we'll catch you again. Have yourself a great day. And thanks for listening to the Church Solutions Podcast. Take care.